Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Leaders Unscripted, the podcast by the National Young Leaders Committee. I'm your host, Kirstin Diaz, and today we're talking about artificial intelligence, where it's headed, and how it's changing leadership, and what it actually means for credit unions. I'm very excited to be joined by Chris Inniss, President and CEO of Main Street Credit Union, and someone who is very much on the leading edge of what's next for our sector. Chris, former NYLC alumni, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about this.
So our first segment is AI and the business of credit unions. So I'll start with a question about how you're using it at your own credit union. So Chris, how is Main Street currently using AI in your day-to-day operations and strategic planning? And any
Yeah,
specific projects or tools that have made a difference?
for sure, for sure. So maybe starting a little bit of context to talk about little bit about our journey and how we started with AI. We decided that it's coming no matter what. You can either get on board or not, but really you can only choose to get on board. It's a disruptive technology. In the same way, like could a credit union have not put computers in? Some were later than others, but AI is coming. Once we made that determination, then it was about, okay, well, how do we're, for context, we're a mid-sized credit union. We're 1.2 billion in assets, 140-ish employees. So knew it's coming. We don't have the massive budgets, and really none of us credit unions do. We're talking our competitor RBC is floors and floors and floors of people who are working on, individual technologies. But how do we start to build the capacity to use this new tool? And so the first step was putting in a BYOAI policy. So that's a bring your own AI policy. And it essentially said, we know people are going to use it. We want people to use it. Make sure that you don't do anything dumb with it. Don't put member information in. Number one rule. Don't take what you read as gospel. Don't copy and paste what you've received and put it out into the world. But other than that, have fun and try it out and build your muscles. And so that was step one for us. And we started to get. I'm a big user myself, and we'll get into lots of use cases, I'm sure. But we started to develop some more power users within the organization. So that naturally went into our first like level one type instance, which is just people using ChatGPT or using Copilot to help them with what they're doing. So it might be to write an email better, or to block their day, or get ready for a meeting, or look at a policy and rewrite a policy. So those kind of things. The next iteration that we used, do you want me to get into all the iterations now?
Yeah, sure. Specifically ones that have made like a real difference in your day-to-day operations, I would think.
Yeah, okay. So the next one that we are still really excited about is we've got an internal help desk. We've got an intranet with all of our policies and procedures on it. But for all of those who have used an intranet to get your policies and procedures, you've got a member in front of you. You forget how to do the thing. You're sweating. You can't find the right process. And so we put a help desk in place. And so that's a couple of employees kind of off the side of their desk, and they are there to help. And we found with the help desk that we had probably 80-20 rule. 80% of the questions were these top 10 question and answers. So then that's a perfect use case for AI. So we partnered with the company. It kind of went through a few iterations, but put in a AI help desk bot. And so you're able to ask it. It combs our intranet, looks at all of our policies and procedures, and then it's able to, how do I set up a debit card? And it gives you a step-by-step instruction. Then you can ask, on this step, what do I do with this? Or what if this happens? Then it can kind of explain that to you. So we found that it has decreased our help desk usage by at least 25% and growing. And I think like 95% of the questions get answered, and we continue to add more things into it. So that was the next iteration. We're also we've got an EA who went on mat leave, and so we needed her to attend a lot of meetings and take minutes. So we put in MeetGeek. There's lots of different ones for like an AI note taker. So it was able to save time. She came back, and then we're now using her more for more governance stuff, because we have the AI note taker to take notes in all those meetings that you don't know if you need a note taker or not, but it's just nice to have the to have the minutes. It does a pretty good job. We're also
You gain
working
some
on
time with like a real body then.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and this is all about freeing up efficiency, freeing up time. And I think that's important to have a use case that, hey, we've got these people working on this stuff. We know we can automate this percentage of it. So let's do that to free up more of their time because we only have 130 employees, and there's more than enough work for everybody to do
Hmm.
if we can automate that stuff. The next one that we're working on, and we haven't completely landed with this one yet, we're in test. And it is we do commercial annual reviews, and a big part of what the analysts do for commercial annual reviews is they take in financial statements, and then they essentially take the numbers on the financial statements and put it into our template. And so transposing numbers is not an efficient use of people's time. They
Hmm.
also take some of the previous credit stuff and put it into the new credit. It's all just kind of a time waste. And then once they're done with all that transposition, then they're actually able to use their brain on the real work. And so the AI will replace all the kind of transposition and the very basic stuff, and then allow them to do more of the brain time, which frees up efficiency. And a few more, which I'll probably get into. But those are the most exciting and interesting ones for now.
Perfect. So my next question, by the way, on my script, one of, the funny things is I have a script for the Leaders Unscripted podcast, but the main idea is that we remain unscripted in our responses. Um, but what excites you most about the potential of AI in the credit union sector, and what makes you nervous? I'll say, you made a great point in your earlier answer that credit unions typically work with a smaller staff. So I think there's a lot of great potential in maximizing the time of your own staff and using AI in that way. But what excites you most? What makes you nervous
Yeah, and I
or
probably made fun of you
cautious?
for the. I probably made fun of you for the scripted thing two or
You,
three times now, so I'll
you
I'll I'll,
have.
uh, I'll
Yeah.
stop now. So the what I'm most excited about with credit unions is I do think it's a great equalizer. So if someone knows how to prompt well and they know how to use the tool, they can become as powerful as and sophisticated as larger companies with more stuff going on. We also, one of the things that credit unions have is agility. So if we have executive teams and leaders in the credit union that are open to AI and are using it themselves, then it's going to come a lot faster than some of those big, huge companies that, everything has to be perfect and everything has to be fully tested. We're not going to go out and have member-facing AI that hasn't been tested, but we're okay with a little bit of experimentation and making some mistakes and failing fast. So I think that's a big benefit for credit unions. But I also think that we need to be on our toes even more. So now we know the way some people shop, and you always generalize with segments. But myself as a millennial, I like to do my research before I go into a store to buy something, and I do like to buy from an expert, especially if it's a bigger purchase. But I need that expert to know more than I do, or at least that know as much as I do, so I can confirm my knowledge. And
Mhm.
so using AI just makes the research so much easier. And so when I am making a purchase or looking at my financial life, from the member's perspective, I can know so much more. So my advisor, therefore, needs to be so much more sophisticated. And it's not going to be people who are doing data entry and, clicking through stuff. It's more about the interaction becomes much more important. And if we've got an AI copilot that's helping us, here's the kind of conversations we should have, and here's your agenda for this meeting. That's all going to come. So we need to be on our A game with the
Mhm.
advice that we're giving.
That makes sense. I will also say that my script was completely generated for the purpose of this experiment by ChatGPT. You mentioned you're a ChatGPT fanboy. I
Big time, yeah.
the same ChatGPT fangirl over here. So I did plug it in and let it know in my prompts, like for the purpose of this podcast on AI, please help me generate my script. So at least I'm in line in brand there.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, my next question. Do you think AI risks widening the gap between large institutions and smaller credit unions, or is there a unique opportunity here for us? So you kind of alluded to this earlier that it actually could make the gap smaller, but I'd like to build on those thoughts a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it will, in cases where people can be smart with AI, it definitely can narrow the gap. But you need to be using it in order for it to do that. You need to free up you need to give the okay for your teams to mess around with it and try it. Never suggesting to put member information into a public instance of
Mhm.
AI. but you need to understand your own risk tolerance. Like we're okay with putting corporate information in there.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously not sensitive corporate information, but we're okay with strategy and stuff because if AI trains its model on our strategy and then our strategy is so good that what's people are gonna steal it and then do financial wellness better than we're doing, it just doesn't. I don't see the risk there.
Mhm.
But you need to give your people the okay to do that. And the benefit of credit unions, particularly small, mid-sized credit unions, is people are wearing a lot of hats, and so people understand bigger parts of the business, and so they're able to more flexibly use AI with what they're doing. But if we are actually putting in built AI solutions, then small credit unions will have more challenge in um, customizing their own instance of AI, their own large language model kind of thing. So we'll need to collaborate on things like that. So there's opportunities and some pitfalls with that.
I really enjoyed after our first call, the first time we ever spoke. I got an AI generated summary of the call after from you saying the things I did well, the things I could have done better, the questions I could have asked differently. I was like, well, this is very constructive.
Yeah, yeah, I love getting feedback, although it has seemed it's changed a little bit. I think that the AI is really programmed to please you, and so sometimes you do
Mhm.
have to say, okay, give me the real deal here, because it'll tell you that you're the best
I
and
know.
all that. But can give you some really good feedback, and without maybe different bias, but not the human bias. It's its own AI bias, but um, interesting that you can use it for career development. You can use it I use it a lot for training. Like I swim and bike and run, so I'm always putting my analytics into it, and talking about training plans. And I'm getting ready for a half Ironman coming up in a couple of weeks, and
Nice.
my training plan was completely built by ChatGPT. And also, as I put more information into it, we're adjusting the plan, and I had a bad sleep or my HRVs doing this or that. Like on the fly adjust the plan, which is pretty cool.
What a great trainer. And this is a perfect segue because I'm going to transition out of credit union for a minute and into personal brand and personal use. I mean, you're right. I dabble in ChatGPT for a little bit of life advice, and often, I say she, but often she just tells me I'm great and I'm doing everything right. So you sometimes have to be like, no, 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 give me the honest, give me an honest perspective here, and she'll maybe change up her wording there a bit. So, for leadership and your personal brand, how are you using AI to build your own brand, whether that's content, communication planning, or otherwise?
Yeah. So have you used the deep research function on
I
ChatGPT
have,
before?
yep.
It
I
like the
learned
first
about it
time I
from
used
you.
it, I was like, holy. And then you even open up and then you look at what the sources it's using and how it's thinking, and it's even kind of talking to itself about the way it's thinking. So for those who haven't used it, it uses actually the first. So my wife is an academic, and I wanted to convince her something about the kids, but because she's in research, she really makes sure that these sources are cited. So
Hmm.
I had it write the argument for me to convince my wife. I can't even remember what the thing was, but cite all the sources. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I do want to talk about how I've used it for our credit policies recently, but on the personal branding thing, a really interesting thing that I did was like a lot of us young emerging leaders want to make sure that my online personal brand looks pretty good, and I'm known for the things that I want to be known for. And I don't. Everyone should probably put more effort into their LinkedIn and all of that. But what I had it do is come up with do deep research on my online personal brand, and then come up with kind of a game plan on what's good, and give me the good, bad, ugly, and then what I should do to improve it. So it does its thing. It calculates for 15, 20 minutes, and then comes back with everything it can find about me online, and what it thinks that I'm known for, and the next thing. So funny enough, it suggested that I should be on more podcasts. So this is perfect for me
Perfect.
today. Yeah.
And what better podcast than the NYLC podcast? You're a former NYLC member, so.
Exactly, exactly, and it's amazing, amazing that how far the NYLC has come and really adding a lot of value to the credit union system. So
Thank
good on you.
Didn't even tell him to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
We will, and you mentioned your credit policies. We will go back to governance and the credit unions in my next section. But what tools or habits do you think other leaders should adopt to use AI without losing their own voice or authenticity?
So I do argue with it quite a bit. In order to become good at using AI, you need to practice. And I recommend practicing with a whole bunch of different stuff. And the range of things that I use it for. So certainly cooking, talking about my kids, work stuff, health stuff, training stuff, all those different kind of things.
You said you take a picture
And
of your fridge and
Oh,
ask,
take a picture of my fridge. What should I make tonight? And I always get in trouble because dinner's not done on time, and I'm supposed to cook on Mondays and Fridays, and I always forget. So take a picture of my fridge, and here's the ingredients that I have. Come up with a recipe, and it's 3:30 right now, and dinner's supposed to be on the table at 5:30. So come up with a back plan for me. And I always hate the way that recipes have all of the ingredients up top, and then they have all the process down in the bottom. So then you need to scroll down for the process, and then, oh, how much, but add the cilantro, how much cilantro, or scroll back up. So then I ask it to deliver recipes to me in a way that has the ingredients and the volumes right in the recipe.
Mhm.
So really cool that you can kind of argue back and forth with that. But one of the worst things that you can do is you can say you want AI to ChatGPT to do this thing for you, then you copy and paste the thing and you send it off. That's when you get the emails that have those double dash marks all over the place, and lots
The
of the
instructions at the end or the feedback at the
exactly, yeah. Oh, and
top.
I've seen even, yeah,
Yeah.
copy and paste of that. And there's another thing that it loves is the NYLC Leaders Unscripted podcast is not only authentic, but it's this other thing. It's not only
Mhm.
this, it's that.
Right.
AI for some reason loves to say that. So for those who have used it a lot, if you're copying and pasting things directly, we see it. And it's funny, like politicians and CEOs, a lot of LinkedIn. I know that you're using
Oh,
AI
I can
for
always tell. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Use it
the
enough,
important
you start to know the language and the
yeah, exactly, exactly. But you can also ask it to say things in your own words.
make
So
it sound
often
like
my
me, make it
yeah,
sound like,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I'll say no dash marks of any kind, put this in my words. Another thing that I like to use in prompts is before we start on the thing, ask me 6 clarification questions
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. So
That's a good
then,
tip.
yeah, because otherwise, it's one analogy I've heard about it. It's like a really eager intern that will never tell you that it can't do something. So it'll
Yeah.
always just try its best and say, yes, absolutely, I can do that, whether it can do it or not. So the questions beforehand really help to guide it and put something in your own words and create something that's custom for the thing that you're trying to do.
That is a good tip. So, how have you coached or encouraged your team to get comfortable with AI? So, this question is just for maybe the skeptics out there who might be hesitant or overwhelmed to dive in.
Yeah, so some that I've heard try for a week to use it instead of Google,
Okay.
and see what happens there. Yeah, see how many times you can use it. I know I've got an iPhone and I've got it pinned to the bottom. It's one of my favorite apps that I'm in all the time. So yeah, you got to try it. You got to practice that muscle, and no one expects you to be great at it right away. Then also, I have seen people share prompts. I think I was talking to somebody at Microsoft, and they do something that's kind of cool. They'll have a prompt of the week, and so people share what their cool, interesting prompts are, and
That's
then
fun.
that just gives people more ideas to be able to use it in a more creative way.
We've
So
done
yeah,
a few
practice, practice,
times, like
practice.
ask it, oh, like, where do you see my life a year from now? Or what do you see my, like, and the team will share it.
I
And
love that.
yeah.
My daughter and I were waiting. My son, they play soccer one after another on the weekend, and so my wife and I were out with my son. oh, sorry, my wife was out with my son, and daughter and I were sitting waiting, and so we had it read our palms. We just took pictures of our palms and then did a palm reading. I don't believe in palm readings or anything like that, but it's just kind
It's
of a
fun.
fun,
Yeah.
fun kind of thing. Like take a picture of a leaf and what kind of tree is this from? And we also used it. Have you used the voice
I
function
haven't
for it?
yet.
Oh,
No.
well, so I was in the car with the kids, and we were using it, and so they were asking me like, why don't unicorns exist? And a bunch of fun kid questions, and it was really good for keeping them entertained for
Passing
a
the
while.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Some of my favorite personal uses, I like there's a type of jean that's really cool right now, like a barrel jean. So I put in there like, tell me how to style a barrel jean. And it would give me like suggestions. And then it would say like, take a picture of your closet and I can show you what you currently have that might work with a barrel jean. So I thought that was like a cool use. And on the topic of shopping, you can use it to generate any promo or discount codes for the website that you're shopping on. So like if I'm buying my kids some stuff from Old Navy, I'll be like, what are the deals at Old Navy this week? And it'll populate all the coupon codes.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, actually, for the national conference this year, I took a picture of my closet and had it, select
Style you.
combinations for me, and I think I looked okay at the conference. If anyone thinks different, let me know, and I'll keep ChatGPT out of my closet.
Yeah, I think your looks were good. My team was very interested in your socks for the
Yeah,
day that
yeah,
we were
yeah,
on the main stage, bananas, I believe.
yeah, yeah. That conversation was bananas.
Yes. Okay, last one in sort of the personal branding. How do you expect AI to change the way we lead from productivity to day-to-day decision making to personal use, from culture to human connection? What do you expect to be big changes for us?
Well, I think the authenticity piece. So there's going to be lots of situations where everybody knows it, and AI is talking to AI on both sides. Like I send you an AI email, you send me back an AI email, and what will that end up being? We're not there yet, and I think culture will kind of change around that a little bit as well. But from in another interesting use case from a career development perspective, I was just having a conversation with our director of org development, and so he's responsible for our succession planning. And so, looking at readiness assessments with succession planning, take the job description of the job that you want, take your resume, maybe have it ask you a few questions, and then come up with a gap assessment for getting ready for that job.
Genius.
So then, then you can have a conversation with your leader about, hey, here's I'm trying to get ready for this role. Here's the gaps that I have. So let's find me shadowing opportunities or, whatever for this. And it really
Love that.
can give you the real deal on where you're good and where you're not so good.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go back to governance and ethics and the big questions. You had mentioned your credit policies, so we can dig into that a little bit here. What other areas are you using AI at Main Street in your processes and procedures to improve? Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got almost full circle because one of the first and easiest use cases was, here's our old policy, and just go through and give me some tips on the new policy kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's almost a first way that you would use GPT. So what we are working on is for those in Ontario, and I think lots of regulators across the country, moving to a more principles-based type regime. And we want to be a principles-based type organization where we are making decisions, smart decisions that are based on risk and not just having blanket rules about things. It's challenging to write principles-based policies and also to live in a principles-based world. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was modernize our credit policies. And for credit unions, the credit policies are the really, really big ones. And so we had a structure that was our top level governance policy. And then below that, we had our more procedural retail policy and our more procedural commercial policy. But probably 80 pages long for the more procedural type policies. And so we wanted to modernize them. The team didn't really have time to jump in, and so it was kind of on the back burner for a while. And then we went to one of the big accounting firms, and they said, "Oh yeah, we can do that for you, of course." And $50,000 to rewrite your policies, and it didn't sit well with me. They were also said that they would use their AI that had a bunch of credit
Right.
union, and I was like, "Oh well, I could just do that."
Right.
So I said to our team, let me try, let me take a crack at it. I can't say that for sure I will get this right, but let me see what I can do. And so it was, I needed all the practice that I had because it was a lot of prompting and kind of over and over again. So I had some sample policies, and then I had our old policies. Then I also had the regulatory guidance, and I had the act, and so putting them in kind of different orders, and then so it came up with a kind of a draft framework, and then okay, let's work on this part of the framework and this part of the framework, and then I would take the old policy and the new policy, and then say, okay, create me a chart on the differences between the old policy and the new policy. And then it's kind of a tiered system of policies that we set up. And so then anything that's missing from the old policy, highlight which tier you should put it in, or whether we're omitting it and why. And then did that a few times until finally I had everything that was missing out of the old policy into the new policy. Then once I had policies together, is I use the deep research function. And another tip for, and I'm sure many know this, but you can really give ChatGPT, and I'm sure it works with the rest of them, very specific on the role that you want it to play. So I said, you are our relationship manager for FISRA. You are being groomed to be the CEO of FISRA someday. You really believe in cooperative finance. You have experience, doing this and this and this, and you think Main Street is a very forward-looking credit union, so you want to give it some really good good advice. I want you to look at the act, the regs, the guidance, and uh, as you're looking at this, and best practice as you're looking at this policy. I also want you to take a look at global standards, including OSFI and Basel, and don't put in rules that constrain the credit union, but let's take best practices with some of your suggestions, and then turn on the deep research, and then it does its thing, and 20 minutes later pops out with a fulsome review of all the policies and any findings. It's almost like a FISRA bot that did the exam. And so then you can, okay, here's the findings. Now fix the policies based on the findings that you came up with. And then we got to so we're still in review, and I can't say for sure that it's mission accomplished because with a lot of times with AI, things look really good until you start to read them. But
Right.
so far, it's passed a couple of tests, and so we're just waiting for the super experts, the really technical people, to take a look at it. But I was really happy with the result. It was probably 10 hours of total time. And so if we saved $50,000,
I
it's
was just gonna say, save you tons of time and $50,000. Yeah.
yeah, not a bad ROI
Yeah.
on that. Still, not mission accomplished, but it's really cool that that it can do that.
So I have some questions from Circle. So that's our Young Leaders app. So two of them that came in. What government structures do you believe are necessary to ensure the ethical oversight of AI in the credit union sector?
Um, Yeah, so I guess definitely need to have board conversations about the use of AI, having a BYO AI policy. I think that so far, from what I've seen with AI, is it's often more ethical than the people. So
Right.
tends it's got its own bias, but will have its own bias. It's usually got a fairly open mind about things. So of course, there's dark roads that things could go down.
Right.
But I do think you have to check things for bias. We've all heard the horrible stories about the AIs that have had to be shut down because they're racist and all that. But ChatGPT is really great at having conversations about opening people's minds and better understanding. Even my own understanding of DEI over time has been improved because of ChatGPT. So yeah, like certainly we have to keep an eye on it, but I don't think any more than our people who act unethically from time to time. Um, yeah, I think pros and cons.
I even use it to check like my own natural bias. so I work in communications. I'm the VP communications, corporate communications at YNCU. So I'm prepping a lot of communication for the organization all the time. So sometimes I'll even use it just to check my own unconscious bias. Like I wrote a piece, following the federal election results, and I felt it was quite, neutral, but you shot it through there I said, can you just check for any unconscious bias here? And it shot me back some just like subtle suggestions for how, it could be worded for a very general audience. Following, any government ramifications that may affect the credit union sector. I was like, check for unconscious bias. It needs to remain completely neutral, just of my own. And I thought, they provided, or ChatGPT provided some very helpful tips to guide that along a more neutral path.
Yeah, and if you had a coworker take a look, maybe they would catch some bias, or maybe they would add their own.
Their own, right? Yeah.
And maybe ChatGPT is catching some, and maybe it's adding some of its own. So really, we're not. Um, it's no worse, I would say.
Right. So another question from Circle. So how do we meaningfully engage and respond to growing concerns about the environmental impact of AI?
Oh, this is a good one. I don't have a good answer for it. Every time that someone tells me about that, because I like to use it so much. I do hope, talking about politics and Canadian politics and specifically, what our Prime Minister, who I'm a big supporter of, has said is I would really like Canada to be an energy superpower. And because of the big electrical uses of AI, there's some real opportunity, especially around our hydroelectric and nuclear capability. So, I think that's pretty cool. So maybe the more we use it, the better it'll be for, that kind of future. But yeah, I don't have a good answer. And, there's always a downside to everything. And that's certainly one of them.
I met him, our prime
Cool.
minister,
Yeah.
during the campaign. Big credit union guy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
he was a big credit union advocate, excited for our sector for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and I hadn't I've always been interested in politics, but this is the first time I joined a party, and we went out to one of the meetings. Maybe I shouldn't talk about my bias, but anyway, I like an economist.
yeah,
It makes a lot of sense because really, people think about economics. I'm getting way off
it's
on a
okay.
tangent here, but
It's
people think of
unscripted. Remember,
economics.
leaders
Sorry?
unscripted. Leaders unscripted.
Exactly, exactly. People think of economics as a hard science, but it's much more social science, and it's how people behave with incentive systems. So yeah, really interesting. Hopefully, we can get all of most Canadians aiming in the right direction, and I think that Canada's got a really bright future.
To the environmental question, I mean, I think what we can hope for, and maybe just choosing providers for your AI that are hopefully offsetting their environmental impact with other, environmental efforts. So like with, reducing their own carbon emissions and footprints. So choosing companies that are attempting to offset the enormous impact of their technology would be my best advice there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that for sure. Then the other thing, it's kind of adjacent, but one of my concerns is right now all of these models are so subsidized by the by venture capital and the companies that are providing them. So ChatGPT is free. Like I've got a paid version because
So do
I use
I.
it so much. But even that is I don't think it's covering the cost that it's using. So I think that the time where we have subsidized AI won't be going on forever. So I worry about, can I survive without it once it becomes much more, once we're paying for the true value
Right.
of AI.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now we're in the fun zone, so we're about to wrap up. So before we wrap up, a little bit of chaos, courtesy of ChatGPT. So I'll go first. I asked you ChatGPT to roast me. So this is my roast, and then we'll do yours. So Kirstin roast by ChatGPT. Kirstin Diaz, the only person who can turn just a quick note into a full-blown communication strategy with phases, deliverables, and revised key messages, all before your second coffee. She has a preset email tone for every human emotion, including disappointment, which she delivers with kindness, so sharp it requires stitches. She once corrected a typo in a birthday card. She doesn't send emails, she releases statements. Her Slack responses are so on brand, they might as well be trademarked. And yes, she's ended conversations and possibly relationships over incorrect comma placement. Working with her is equal parts motivational coaching, brain training, and light emotional damage. But if something has to be right, give it to Kirstin. Just brace yourself.
Nice. I like that a lot. That is a good one.
Sure.
Mine doesn't seem as good.
Okay, it's your turn.
This is I should work more on communications. So Chris Inniss wants to build a coast-to-coast credit union empire to take market share from the banks, but only if someone else can draft the policy, run the pilot, and write the press release in his voice. He's a big picture guy, which is great because he hasn't personally opened a spreadsheet since 2022.
Oh
If
God.
Excel had a VO2 max score, he'd ask his assistant to summarize it. Chris owns 5 bikes, 2 Audis, and 0 items that don't have a custom optimization strategy. He treats credit union segmentation like fantasy football with charts. He'll delegate a lending matrix but micromanage his espresso tamp pressure. He's training for half Ironman, transforming a credit union, raising 2 kids, yet somehow still finds time to Google, will jelly beans make me faster in a lake?
Oh my God.
Chris is sharp, strategic, and inspiring, but if you let him, he'll automate your job, turn it into a policy, and still beat you to the coffee machine.
Perfect. Okay. The next thing is I asked ChatGPT to give us a limerick about the future of Canadian credit unions. So I have two options, and I'm gonna see which you can choose which one is the better one. So
Sounds
option
good.
one. In a world full of banks that feel cold, credit unions are daring and bold. With tech that's on track, but members held back, we lead with our hearts, not just gold.
Nice.
Number two, our branches may look old and quaint, but don't be misled by the paint. We're coding with care while still being there, a future that's smart, but still saint.
So we just opened a branch this week. Our grand opening is on Thursday, and it is beautiful and new and shiny. So I have to go with number one because
Option
we
one.
have a lot of beautiful branches.
I agree. We have a lot of beautiful branches too. So I'll go with you on number one.
Yeah.
And lastly, I asked AI to title my autobiography if I were to write one. So the title it came up with is Let Me Rephrase That, A Life in Love with the Right Words.
That's hilarious. Just before I forget, when we're talking about roasts, one of my he's not really my favorite anymore because YouTubers change over time because I think they try and get clicks. But Caleb Hammer is a YouTuber. I think he's out of Texas in the U.S. And it was that he'd give good financial advice, and now it's just kind of him yelling at people. But what I did was I am a budgeter, and so I have every transaction that my wife and I have done for the past, I don't know, like 8 years in a spreadsheet. And so able to upload that all into ChatGPT and then have it give me a Caleb Hammer style kind of roast and financial assessment, which was pretty cool.
That's
And so yeah,
fun.
just so many different things that you can do with your life, and roasts make it a little bit fun and a little dangerous.
Humbling.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's the title of your bestseller?
Okay, so I will do it live here.
Does it beat Let Me Rephrase That?
Uh,
I'm getting a live reaction here.
let's see. Hope it's a good one after all this. Okay, it's thinking. Oh, here's a few punchy. I'll just give you the first one.
Okay, let's hear them.
Yeah, it's perfect. Delegate and Conquer: The Lazy Man's Guide to Leading a Credit Union Revolution.
Okay, that one's perfect. You don't need to give me any more.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely.
Okay, so that is a wrap on this episode of Leaders Unscripted. Chris, do you have anything you want to add about AI or Main Street or leadership or anything else you want to say, your final thoughts before we hang?
Yeah, well, I think one of the greatest things about my time on the Young Leaders Committee and having attended events is about the connection. So if you have more questions for me or you want to connect, definitely encourage you to reach out. My LinkedIn is open, practice, practice, practice with AI. Use it for the things that you can use it for. You'll just get better, and it's not going to be a talent that will go away. The good prompters will be rewarded.
So thank you so, so, so much, Chris, for sharing your time today and your insight and for surviving your roast segment with your dignity intact. And
Thank you. Anytime.
to our listeners, thank you for being here. Let us know in the comments on this podcast what you're doing with AI, what you're worried about, and what you would like us to explore on our next podcast. Stay curious, stay collaborative, and lead unscripted. Thank you so much, Chris, for your time, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.